A little Friday fun for you. Yesterday on YouTube, I was asked a question focused on Nikon. It's going to spend the next year on a deserted island. I could only have two lenses with me. What two lenses would they be? And I love playing this game with food and all kinds of different things. I never really thought about it before with camera gear or lenses. So I took that question and asked it out to you all on Facebook. And got some kind of fun responses that I just kind of want to share with you now. If you hadn't gone back, if you answered, pay attention. I might talk about your answer a little bit. If you didn't answer, here are some thoughts from some other folks. And it seems like we can kind of separate this into three camps. So basically, if you had to spend a year on a deserted island with a camera and two lenses, what two lenses would you pick? And we can separate this into those brainiacs that think, hey, I might be able to start a fire with one of these lenses and have picked like a wide angle or the 51-2, something that can really concentrate the light and possibly will start a fire because cooked fish is a lot better than raw fish, although I do love sushi. Then we got the camp of very practical, cover as wide a range as we can. Things like 17 to 50 and then the Sigma 50 to 500 is one example. That's a pretty extreme example in there. But there were some other ones as well that kind of want to do that same thing. And then we have the people that pick kind of a practical lens and then one lens that may be practical for some other reason, but that definitely doesn't give them a full range coverage. Example of being the 10 to 20 and then on top of that the 800mm 5.6L as a telescope. That would be pretty sweet. And somebody else mentioned a really long lens as well, to be able to spot passing ships, signal to them. I like that idea. There's only one person, Van, who mentioned a macro lens. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is Mark mentioned one as well. I'm really on board with that plan. So personally, I think it would be nice to have kind of a practical lens. It gives you a nice range, 18 to 135, 24 to 105. You know, we didn't talk about whether this costs any money or if these parachute out of the sky. So we could throw money out the window. I think some of you did and had fun with this. And, you know, a lens that covers a decent range that we can kind of talk about to make this video a little practical. A walkabout lens that can cover a range, 17 to 50, 18 to 135, 18 to 105, 18 to 200. Now, I'm not generally, I think you've heard me say this before, a fan of lenses that cover a very large focal length. 18 to 135, 18 to 105 is about as big a range as I'd like to see in a lens. You really start to make some sacrifices in quality, distortion, softness at both ends, and pincushion distortion at the wide end. So you really run into a lot of different issues when you cram that much range into one of these really long lenses. But, you know, I might be able to forgive that on a deserted island just to have that kind of nice range. And I know professional photographers that walk around use these as their travel lenses, 18 to 200, because they are extremely convenient. Now, they are using usually the name brand, Nikon and Canon. Their 18 to 200s are pretty decent and a step above your third party. But the third parties offer some decent value. So I'm just saying, you know, generally not a big fan of those. On a deserted island, I think I could make an exception. There are some other lenses in there as well. But I think it would also be fun to have kind of a really specialized lens. For me, a macro lens, because you really can entertain yourself for a long period of time. And if you're kind of taking this seriously, you're going to be on a deserted island. Let's say there's lots of coconuts around, so you don't have to do a lot of food collection. And so a macro lens could be a lot of fun. I mean, and remember, not only is a macro lens a good macro lens, but it's a really nice prime lens as well. Good for portraits. Amuse yourself with self-timers, beard lapses, things like that. So I like that approach as well. And then, you know, we got some folks in here. Oh, somebody just asked if we have electricity. Well, solar panels, sure. I'm not sure. I guess that means you need to keep your Canon battery charged or your battery charged. Let's not think too hard about this. Oh, and somebody else did say the 800mm so they could see when planes and ships are passing by to signal them. We have a couple other prime lenses in there. You know, macro or just a prime, I think would be fun. Your nice bokeh pictures of the coconuts in the foregrounds and very soft palm trees in the background. So I think there's a lot of fun here. Very wide angle lenses. I've mentioned, and there's a lot of interest. I think a lot of my audience is folks that are fairly new to DSLRs or getting back into photography after being out of it for a while. And there's a lot of interest in wide-angle lenses. And I like wide-angle lenses, and I think the best way to say this is you all think you like them more than you actually do. The idea of a very wide-angle lens is very exciting, but to get actual clean, beautiful landscape pictures when you're talking about 10 to 20 millimeters is very difficult. It's very easy to have way more in that image than you want, and you just kind of have this wide landscape that isn't anything special about it. And so 18 is pretty wide, even though you have to multiply by the crop factor. It's pretty wide on your crop sensor cameras, 24 on your full frame cameras, and that usually is enough to capture the scene. You can always set yourself up a little two-shot panorama, and that's something that I've been meaning to talk about for a long time. But you could do really nice kind of 360 panoramas around the island and all kinds of stuff like that with multiple shots. So I guess you have a computer along with Photoshop or some other program like that. The Sigma 18 to 35 has been mentioned in here. That, of course, is an excellent, that is pretty much the best crop sensor lens you can put on your camera right now if you haven't already heard me say that. It is basically like several primes in one. It's very good. The Tokina 11 to 16, I've mentioned that lens before. I just kind of said wide angle lenses may not be as wonderful as you think, but that is one of the better ones, and would be the one that I would go for. Yeah, and some zooms, some nice 70. We got the nice 24 to 70 and 7200. I said that was that camp of folks that kind of wanted to make sure they covered a nice range. And hey, if this deserted island is a wedding destination, you can't go wrong with that pair of 24 to 70 and 70 to 200. That's kind of the wedding photographer's dream team right there. Although there are some people that like to shoot with primes at weddings too. A little silly. Mentioned a few lenses. I think it would be fun for you to say, what would the food you would want to eat on this deserted island? If you could only have one food for a year, you're stuck on this deserted island, what would it be? Leave a comment down below with your food. And I think I had some other more practical camera question I was going to ask, but I don't remember what it is now. So this was just a little Friday fun video. If you are a subscriber and you're not over on my Facebook page, you should take a moment and come over and like that, because from time to time we have some fun questions. As we get closer to, here in America, Black Friday, we're about a month away from that. Today? Is today exactly a month away? No, a month and a day. I will be posting more deals. I'll be keeping an eye out for all kinds of good photo-related deals. And one other heads up is that the Amazon bundles right now, the free SD cards and the free bags, those are supposed to expire on November 2nd. I suspect that we'll either see those extended or we'll see them come back later in November, but I can't guarantee that. And if you were thinking about jumping on those, you might want to do that now. I also got asked a lot of questions about price drops as we go into the holiday season. In general, very rarely do your current line of DSLRs see any drop in price. Much more often, you get a few bundled deals that are in there, and then of course the rebates that are running right now, but you're not going to see these amazing Black Friday stampede people to death deals for the T5i, the D5200, or D5300, although we should see the D5200 drop a little bit more because the D5300 will be selling or completely available at that time. And the same goes for the 70D. So I don't think we're going to see any amazing deals. But I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm always a little hesitant to predict prices because I can be wrong, and there can be a very large price drop. The T4i dropped a surprising amount into that holiday season, but I think Canon also knew that it was going to be replaced fairly early in the spring with the T5i, so they were selling those off. The T5i should be replaced by the T6i probably no sooner than summer. I would be surprised if it was earlier than that, but I was surprised with the T5i. So this is some fun rambling about lenses and deals and things of that sort. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Thanks so much for watching.